CQ, 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 the old friends net. This is N4LQ, November 4 Lima, Quebec. The name is Steve, and the QTH is Shelby, North Carolina. The old friends net meets here on 3715 every Thursday and every Tuesday at 8 a.m. And this is a round table net using the amplitude modulation mode of transmission only. And those welcome to check in, please call now.
Good morning, Steve, WA4LLR.
WB4ARK. W2CQH.
WB4NKL.
November
K4JAL.
Zulu, India.
W4DCS.
W4MEC.
All right, we got some little bit of QRM this morning. Hope we're able to function. This is N4LQ. Do we have any more check-ins? All right, here's what I have so far. First, WA4LLR, WB4ARK, W2CQH, WB4NKL. Let's see, N4OZI, K4JAL, and W4DCS, and Charlie, W4MEC. Anybody else want to check in? Please call. Okay. I just want to be sure I'm modulating this morning. Boy, I tell you, I about lost track of time. I had my alarm set, I thought, but it must have been set for the wrong time because it never did go off. Anyway, we made it, and it's another uncannily beautiful morning here. Not a cloud in the sky, 52 degrees. It's supposed to be up to about 78 today, I believe. Summertime weather and exceedingly dry. We haven't, it's been almost a month. Let's see, the hurricane hit on the 27th of September, and here it is October 24th, and since the hurricane, we have not had a drop, not even a cloud go by here in Shelby. So things are a little dusty. Hopefully that'll get back to normal. I guess these hurricanes, they must suck all the water out of the sky and take it out in the ocean and dump it or something. It's really strange. In this case, I guess they dumped it on North Carolina and Florida. Anyhow, let's go ahead and start the roundtable with Dave, WA4LLR, N4LQ.
N4LQ and the old friends, WA4LLR. Good morning to everybody. 55 degrees up here and crystal clear. A little bit of a breeze, beautiful morning out there. High of 69 they're saying for us today. About 5 degrees cooler than yesterday. And it is very dry up here, powder dry. So we're praying there's no forest fires or sparks from people burning debris, starting a conflagration. Anyway, running the ART-13, receiving the R390A. So that's pretty much the situation here. So, buddy, down to you. WB4ARK, WA4LLR.
WA4LLR, WB4ARK. Okay, Dave, well, weather conditions are about the same here. Looks like we're going to have a clear day today. Not a cloud in the sky as it was yesterday, mostly. I think there was a few puffy clouds yesterday afternoon, but nothing to speak of. And yes, it's very dry here. I think it wrung every bit of moisture out of the atmosphere when that storm hit. It was something else. So I guess that's about it for right now. So we will turn it over to W2CQ. Yes, W2CQH. This is WB4ARK.
WB4ARK, W2CQH. Good morning, Annette. Copying everybody. S8, S9. Running usual ART13. Coax shooting a half-wave dipole antenna. And the receiver is the BC348Q. Which I've had since the early days of my ham career, starting in 1953. But we got enough water during the last hurricane, 5 inches of water. So I think it's still pretty damp around here, at least in the woods. And my QTH is in the middle of the woods. So on to WB4NKL, W2CQH.
W2CQH, WB4NKL. Okay, Reed. Sounding good this morning. I'm running ART13 also. Got 3 of them on here, sounds like, at least. And a Drake 2A receiver and running into 160 meter half wave through the tuner. 48 degrees here and supposed to get up to 70 today. And we've had one little shower since the storm. I don't remember exactly when it was, but it didn't really amount to much. It was probably a week after the original hurricanes come through. It's getting pretty dry. I think the yard mowing may be over for the year. I haven't touched the yard in a couple weeks, and it don't look like it needs anything. But the leaf raking has started, so I've got to get into that here before long. Probably chop some of them up with the lawnmower, so it's about the same as mowing the yard, I guess. Not much else here. Copying everybody pretty good, so band's in pretty good shape. I guess still a little long. I hear some stations there in the background. So on over to you, Alan. N4OZI, WB4NKL.
Okay, Cliff, WB4NKL and the net, this N4OZI. Not much else going on. Said yesterday the painters have finished and have left, at least for time being. They'll be back on the 14th to do some minor stuff that needs to be done, and trying to get things back in order around here. Weather forecast for Barnesville is looking good, and Hurricane Helene gave us 8 inches of rain. We haven't had any since then, but that 8 inches got soaked up pretty quick around here. But it doesn't look like we're good. It looks like October is going to be a dry month, according to the forecast. Keep it going. Send it over to you, Jimmy. K4JAL, N4OZI.
N4OZI, K4JAL. Well, good morning, everybody. We're having a red letter day here. The Boil water restraint came off in Burnsville yesterday, so I may shave my beard. It's about a ½ inch long. I dread that, but I want to get rid of it. But I was waiting till we got clean water. Painters are in here painting the ceiling in several rooms that got damaged in the storm. The roof is on, looking good. We've been paid by the insurance company and had FEMA over, and they treated us really well. So things are going well like that. I'm on the rice box today. Looking forward to getting the ART-13. I'm trying to figure out if I put it over at the main shack, I'll power it or pair it with the R390A, but I'd like to bring it over here so I could be on an old rig in this shack, but I've restrained in room, and I don't have another AM receiver to bring with it. Wondered what to do there. I'm afraid I'd burn up the 7610 if I try to pair it up with it, so I won't do that. That's life in a big city. Over to you, Doug. W4DCS, K4JAL.
Hey, K4JAL on the group, W4DCS, Winston-Salem. Well, we've got 52 degrees, and they're calling for a high of 73. And Jimmy, I'm glad to hear you've made all the progress up there, sounding good. And I'll tell you what, this crowd here can help you out with an AM receiver. I have no doubt about that. And I'm operating on the Collins set this morning. It's one that I had stored away for better part of 2 years, the 32V3, and paired with the 75A1 receiver, which is doing a pretty good job. The receiver's doing a pretty good job filtering out the sideband QRN. I'm actually impressed with that, with the selectivity and the phasing control on it. It does very well. So anyway, I've got to probably headed down to Daytona Beach next week. I have my father down there who's 92 years old. I was born when he was 20. You figure that out. But we've got to move him into a assisted living, so I'm going down there with my sister. I'm toying with the idea of going down through Lawrenceburg and checking that out. So not sure what's going to happen with that, but thinking about it. Anyways, enough out of me. Charlie, here you go. W4MEC, W4DCS.
Okay, Doug, real good. W4DCS, W4MEC. And good morning, fellas. It's a balmy 51 degrees here this morning, and hope you're hearing me a little better. Kind of smell out the teeny bit of SWR I got here. I got all my antenna hooked up today. I didn't realize last Tuesday that only half of my ladder line was plugged in. The other plug had popped out, so I was using a half an antenna and half a feed line. And I have a feeling that the half I was using was the part that's going to the northeast. So, because Glenn couldn't hear me at all, which would be to the southwest. So, I hope that fixed it. Still scoping out my 80 meter dipole / change it to inverted V options here. I'm thinking of just hanging it off the tower and putting it up as inverted V. Oh, my trees have grown up so much in the past 30 years since I put that darn wire up. It's just about impossible to put it back where it was. I can't get a straight shot from my potato gun to shoot the rope over. So last time I put it up, I used a slingshot and a nut tied to the end of a piece of fishing line. Now I actually have a potato gun I built for that. So let's see. It hasn't rained here since either the 23rd or the 24th of September, when it started the 3.5 days of rain before the hurricane got here. So it's been almost exactly a month here for us. And it's after the storm blew out, it's been blue skies, not a drop of rain every single day, not a cloud, just blue skies, which has been very good for the men working on power lines and cutting the trees out of the way, clearing and getting roads back together. But I just heard a report that up there off the Swannanoa area, they're dealing with toxic dust. They want it to rain. The water has been killing animals, pets, cattle, livestock. Made people sick, and there's all this stuff that has been washed downriver, cars turned over, water that's gone through different businesses, stuff like that, apparently has made a royal mess of the water, and the mud is the problem, and the dust is being blown up, and then basically it's toxic dust, so you just can't win. I wonder if any of you fellows up there in Burnsville saw that video of the fellow who took a long, I guess he documented the rise of the Cane River, and it showed his house, and he's a fellow that built his own footbridge across the Cane River. You might know where it is, but the whole thing was made out of concrete and steel with a 4x6 wood deck, 4x6 lumber cut into 5-foot length pieces and used as decking. And he shows that bridge, and it's amazing what happens to it. And he goes back to his house, it's gone. And he finds his truck down the river. It looks like somebody beat it to death with a hammer, a big hammer. And he was actually in a little shop up the side of the road there, and the water was rising so fast they ended up having to cut a hole in the ceiling and work their way up to the roof because it was rising so fast in the shop. They were trapped. But they made it out. But it's quite. The video is about 20 minutes long, so it's. The rise of the Cane River is just absolutely amazing, and what it did. So check on the internet if you haven't seen that yet. It's pretty darn impressive. So anyway, I'm Tail End Charlie, but maybe not, and we'll see N4LQ in the group W4 Michigan.
Okay, Charlie. You have to put a list. Post a link to that on our email reflector. This is N4LQ. Do we have any more check-ins to the old friends net? Come now. Okay, nothing heard. That was an interesting round and a lot to comment on. Yeah, Charlie, your signal's pretty well up to normal. You're 15 over. Very good copy here. And you may have invented a new kind of beam antenna where you can null people out to switch your feed line around. It'd be interesting to play with that. And, my 160 infed antenna came down during the storm, so I've been using this loop, which is an 80-meter horizontal loop, way too short to be fed normally. I've got ladder line coming down to the shack, so I tied the ends together, fed it against ground, and I had to put a capacitor in series with the feed line because it was so far out of whack the tuner wouldn't match it. Put a counterpoist on it about a quarter wave long, and it seemed to help some. But I did some antenna modeling last night, and I discovered that if I make the counterpoist a certain length, like 65 feet. Now this is for 160 meters, but if I do that, it should make my SWR about 2 to 1. I couldn't believe it. So that's my experiment for today with antennas. And Doug, hope you have a good trip down to Daytona to see your dad and get him all moved into the assisted living place. We've been through that, and those places can be really nice and helpful to us old folks. And Jimmy, you sure had a lot to comment on. No more boiling water, and you can shave. And I use an electric razor, but I guess you don't do that. And the insurance paid off, and you got a visit from FEMA. Now, I'm curious as to what FEMA did when they got there. And we have a next-door neighborhood group here on the internet that It's pretty big, but there's one guy that's always defending things of that ilk, and he posted this letter from somebody in Asheville just absolutely praising FEMA, how great they were, and all the volunteers that FEMA has. All these doctors and firemen and policemen that have come in, there's like 700 of them came in to Asheville and volunteered for FEMA. So I looked it up. I looked on FEMA's website, and they do not accept any volunteers. They do provide you a list of organizations and encourage you to go to them, such as Red Cross, etc. But they don't, you can't go to FEMA and just start to work. It doesn't quite work that way. So let's see. And surely you can find another receiver. I can't believe you're out of receivers. But just get on eBay and order one of those cheap standalone SDRs. So I don't know. You'll find something. And let's see. Leaf raking. I haven't heard that term for a while. Everybody around here blows leaves. We had a guy here yesterday that was out there for 2 hours in the yard with the world's loudest leaf blower, blowing leaves around, and I went by his house later, and I couldn't see any improvement at all. And I just about said, hey, I see a leaf in your yard. You need to go out there and blow it away. Well, anyway, he's blowing them all over in my woods, which I don't care. And I guess that's about it for the day, and hello to all the ART-13s out there today. So, Dave, it's all yours. WA4LLR, N4LQ.
All righty. N4LQ and the net, WA4LLR. All right. Well, looks like we had about 4 ART-13s this morning, and we had potential. We've got the potential for about 7 if I'm figuring correctly. So the vast majority of this group has an ART-13 somewhere, and they all sound good. Alan, glad you got your painting finished, except for a few little touch-up places. And Jimmy, what a red letter day! Praise God for the boiling mandate to be lifted. That's good news. Maybe we'll get some restaurants opening back up now. Doug, good deal on your dad being 92. Well, that's wonderful. So I think you said he was 20 when you were born, so that makes you 72. Still a young fella. And Charlie, what a difference another part of the antenna makes. Got a great signal this morning. And yeah, put a link to that video on the reflector if you get a chance to. Let's see here what's going on. Well, the lull in the sunspot maximum has kind of gone away. We had an X-class 3.3 flare about midnight, and today the sunspot count is 104, solar flux index is 185, and the K is 3.67 on the last measurement that I saw. A few items from this day in history. On this day in 1945, United Nations was established. I'm not even going to comment on that one. On this day in 2017, Fats Domino passed away at the age of 89. On this day in 2005, Rosa Parks passed away at the age of 92. On this day in 2003, supersonic passenger service ended when British Airways flew its last Concorde flight. On this day in 1940, the 40-hour work week went into effect under the U.S. Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938. On this day in 1929, a record number of 12,894,000 shares of stock were traded, causing the first day of panic in the crash of '29, known as Black Thursday. On this day in 1861, the first transcontinental telegram was sent via telegraph, which effectively brought to an end the Pony Express. And on this day in 1632, Dutch microscopist Antony Leeuwenhoek, which I probably am mispronouncing, became the first to observe bacteria and protozoa. So there's some stuff from this day in history. Down to you, Mr. Buddy. I assume you're running an ART-13. WB4LRK, WA4LLR.
WA4LLR, WB4ARK. Well, you'd be correct, Dave. I didn't mention that at the beginning. Kind of assumed everybody knew we were still on the Cherry ART-13. I guess today will be the last day. We'll switch back over to my unit. And this will be the soon-to-be Jimmy's transmitter. And I think the R390A would be a good companion. I use R390 with mine, and it works out real well. It mutes perfectly. But you will need another plug for the ART-13. However, I can supply 2 pins which will go on the male pins of the which will go into the female socket on the unit, and so you should be in good shape with that. I have a plug which works real well, but it's not necessary to use that plug. You can just stick the pins into the socket. It's the P7U8 plug. The U7 is the one in the middle. That's the power plug. And so the U8 plug takes care of several issues, and one is muting. But you only use 2 pins, so basically the rest of it goes unused. So you can do what you like. If you want to stick the pins in, soldered on the end of 2 wires, that's fine. You run that to your receiver. I did have one unit that did not have those pins available. It only had you need a normally open contact, and this one only had a normally closed contact. So you would have to add another relay. I forget which one it was. It might have been Cliff's unit. I think it was. It might have been Cliff's. I don't remember. It was one I worked on recently. Anyhow, so that makes 4 of us on today with ART-13, unless Doug has his on today. So not sure if Doug has his ART-13 on. He may have mentioned what he had, but I don't think it was the ART-13. Anyway, that would be 5. So if Jimmy had one, that would be 6, and I think there's somebody else. Charlie. That would be 7. That would be 7 ART-13s. That would be a big jump in the number of ART-13s on at one time on this net. I don't think, from what I've heard, there's been that many on at once for this particular net. So that would be something else when we get all these on at one time. So looking forward to that day. And it's good, Jim. You got your water back to normalcy, and so now you can you're getting your house finished. So that's you're getting back to normalcy. So you'll be in good shape for your new transmitter, which will be coming to your place very soon. Let's see what else. Well, Steve, I'm glad you got. If it were my woods, I think I'd say something about it, but I don't know if it's actually your woods or not. You talk like it belongs to you, so I presume it's yours. But yeah, I think using somebody else's property without permission is not an okay thing. I've had a guy that lived next door that did that, and he caught the wrath of bloody hearing a couple of times. Well, let's see what else we got here. I guess that's about it for right this moment. So we got a pretty good copy on Reed this morning. I had to change my receiver just slightly to get him in without any sideband noise, but we got a good copy on his signal. So over to Reed, W2CQH. This is WB4ARK.
ARK, W2CQH. Well, the ART-13 is now drifted down to 3713.7. I think I'm the third owner of this ART-13, and it has been extensively modified. The auto-tune mechanism is long gone. So now it works only on 74 meters, and the big bulky power cable is up in the attic, I think. So the automatic motor is of course long gone, so it's fed now by homebrew power supplies and connected by Jones plugs. So I guess Collins would never recognize this version of the ART-13. Dave, yes, the Dutch scientist Leeuwenhoek, man to observe human sperm with his microscope, and he published a drawing of it, which you can probably find on the internet. WB4NKL, W2CQH.
WB4NKL, you copy, the CQH was like 3 kcs down the band.
Yeah, I wasn't sure he turned it over to me. W2CQH, WB4NKL. His signal was demodulating some sideband guys, and they were about the same strength, and I guess they're about on that same frequency that reads at, but they was almost doing a perfect job of demodulating. Good deal on all ART-13s. We'll have to have an ART-13 day and make sure everybody fires theirs up on the same day, buddy. As far as muting, I'm on my 5th supply. I'm working on Jimmy's power supply, and I always incorporate a relay with a extra set of dry contacts, you can use for receiver muting in the power supply. So, Jimmy, you won't have to worry about finding that other plug. You can just pull the leads off the power supply to mute your receiver. And I've got I don't know if you'd be interested, I've got a pretty nice looking SX100 Halicrafters extra you might be interested in. So keep that in mind. As far as the leaf raking, I still do it. I don't see much point in just blowing them around. Wind does that for me, blowing them around different places. But I rake them up and onto a big canvas and fold that up and carry it over to Linda's got a garden that's fenced in, and I dump them in there and use them for mulch. Used to burn them, but haven't done that in a few years. I've been just putting them on our garden. So quite a bit of work. I guess it's easier if you just blow them around. Right, the old rake, it'll wear blisters on your hands if you're not used to it. So let's see, who was I turning it to here? Alan, N4OZI, WB4NKL.
Okay, Cliff. WB4NKL. N4OZI. Yeah, I live in a cabin in the woods, so to speak, we call it, although it's not a cabin. And surrounded by hardwoods. So when fall hits, it really hits. And you need a backpack, high-powered blower to corral all these leaves. And there are a lot of them. And it does it in pretty quick time, so it's a good investment. And but it's pretty powerful, and it's heavy, having that thing on your back. But it does the job. Does the job very well. Got to use some air protection because it's loud. But it does a good job. I usually don't have to be out there very long. I can get everything done fairly quickly. So kind of wonder, Steve, when you mentioned your neighbor doing it for a couple hours, I cannot imagine trying to have that thing running for 2 hours. That's just too much. But maybe he's got a big project. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to say 73s. Kind of tired. Got up a little early this morning, and earlier than I normally do for some reason. Couldn't get back to sleep. But looking forward to Lawrenceville, and that'll be a lot of fun. Weather forecast hasn't changed, so it looks like what you see out there now is what it probably will be at Lawrenceville. Might be slightly cooler, but as long as the wind's not blowing, that'll be fine, and should be a pretty good ham fest. I'll say 73s, and I'll listen around, but send it over to you, Jimmy. K4JAL, N4OZI.
N4OZI, K4JAL, well, 73, Al. Doug, good luck with your dad. I know moving him around like that won't be comfortable for him, but I hope it works out well. The video on Cane River, that's about 2 miles before you got to where my farm used to be. Most of that land was up the mountain. 150 acres of it was straight up, and I'm sure it's been washed considerably, but the meadow, about 15 acres below the road, is gone, and so's the road. But the barn survived. Anyway, Buddy, thanks for the offer of the pins, but it sounds like Cliff's got that covered. Yeah, the R390A is what I'll pair it with if I'm over at the other shack where I got plenty of room. I'm using the R390A with the Viking 2 now, and I like that setup, but I'll probably get a SDR rig, like Steve said, and put over here, because I don't have much space by the time I get the new ART-13 in here with power supply. I'll be tapped out for that, but it'll all work out one way or the other. So there you go. That's about it for me. I'll pass it on over to Doug, W4DCS, K4JAL, 7-3 for the day.
Okay, Jimmy, fine business. K4JAL, W4DCS. And, yeah, you've got several offers for receivers already. Glenn posted an email. He's got a, what is it, a N70 and an R390 that he'll sell you. And then Cliff's got one too, so. Yeah, I use an SDR with mine. Mine's runs on PC. It's a, what is it, HF Plus, what do they call that thing? A Sky Spy, I forget. Anyways, muting was the problem with it, though. I'm wondering, Steve, how you mute the SDR setup that you use. I ended up doing my own design using a little miniature, what is it? My mind goes blank on me. One of those miniature microcontrollers, and Arduino, that's what it is, an Arduino Mini, and I just piggybacked a little RF receiver on top of it. A little tiny thing, goes in a little tiny case, and then did some software, so it's got an RF detector, and it sends a message to the PC to mute the PC whenever it sees a carrier. Of course, it only works on AM. Yeah, I was talking to Steve, the guy that did the software monitor stuff, REI software monitor, and he could have easily coded that to do the same, which he did on his own setup. I said, well, darn, Steve, why don't you do an update so we can have a muting function, you know, right on the PC, but he's never done it. So anyways, mine works, and it works well for me. That's the deal with my setup there. And boy, Charlie, you are back, buddy. You know, 15-20 over here. So I'm glad you found that out. It was way down before, but buddy, you got it back. So glad you figured that out, and you sound great. W4MEC, W4DCS.
Okay, Doug, W4DCS and group W4MEC. Real good copy. Yeah, I'm trying to find that link, but it sounds like Jimmy might have found it there, if he's seen it. Jimmy, I got a BC348, an external power supply, if you can find that room, and last time I checked it was working. I've got several of those, and I've got one with a dynamotor in it that I want to restore. Maybe make it even more noisier in the shack. Yeah, and I did not, even though I got up in time this morning to get the things running for the R13, I'm replacing my power cable, the 28-volt power cable. I found a nice set of wires there that were, I don't know how to describe them. I think it's a number, it's either a 6 or a 4, I can't remember, but very flexible, almost like welding cable. And I need to replace those and see if that cures the double click problem there, and eliminate the voltage drop. So yeah, that would be good to have an R13 day. Right now I'm running mine with a VC3, with a 75 A3, and it does a good job with it. You know, the muting line out of the ART13 mutes that. And I thought about pairing it with my BC348 because it can just, and the BC375, which uses it, because that would just be nothing more than sharing the mute line and running an extra receiver wire from the 13 to the BC348. So, well, I'm thinking about doing that, but we'll see. The A3 works so well, and I don't have any. I'd like to have the A3 in here, but I don't have any room, kind of like Jimmy's World there. So, anyway, let's see. I don't have any other comments here, but everybody's still doing good. Yeah, and Reed, yeah, you're down the band quite a bit. The sideband station's hammered you on that last transmission. So, anyway, that's okay. I think I didn't make enough notes on that last transmission, but anyway, so let's go back N4LQ in the group W4MEC.
Okay, Charlie, and W4MEC N4LQ. Do we have any late check-ins for the net? Come now. Okay. Let's see, a couple of comments on muting SDRs. If you're talking about a SDR that's computer control, like the SDR Play, etc., there's software called SDR Console, and that has a built-in muting function. And so as long as you've got a way to change from transmit to receive on your antenna, a strong signal from yourself will mute the software and you won't hear yourself. And that is, and it's actually, as far as I can tell, the best SDR software that I've found for synchronous AM and everything else, SDR Console, and it works with all the popular little SDRs, but you can adjust the level of the muting so that once the signal gets up to a certain point, like 40 or 60 over 9 or something, it just simply cuts the audio off, and it really works wonderfully. And let's see, as far as the leaf situation in my woods, yeah, it is my woods. And people do throw sticks in it sometimes. And I've never been able to see anybody do it except for the leaf guy. We caught him yesterday. But it wasn't a neighbor, it was somebody the neighbor hired. And the guy I don't know why he spends so much time on this yard, because it doesn't really look all that great, but he really works at that yard. He's always spreading some kind of fertilizer or weed killer and all kinds of stuff. And I don't know, I just get out there every fall and spread some rye seed, and it pops up nice and bright green and lasts all winter. And then in the summertime, there's nothing you can do, and I don't care. It just, it all ends up weeds, and as long as the weeds are green, I'm happy. I don't like brown weeds, I like green weeds. And I cut them all the same height, and it just looks like grass as long as you're about 60 feet away. And as far as an ART 13 day goes, I'm against that. That's idolizing a certain rig. Shouldn't do that. It's going to end up like the DX60 net, you know, and that thing evolved into just whatever you got. So there, you listen to the DX60 net, you'd be doing good to hear any DX60s on it. But there's enough here. There's enough ART 13s to keep each other company, I think. Anyway, whatever. I'll go ahead and start the 73 round, pass it around here. We've already lost, let's see, Alan and Jimmy and Doug have all said their 73s. And so Dave, go ahead, WA4LLR on another ART 13, N4LQ.
Okie dokie. N4LQ, WA4LLR. Well, I don't think that would idolize a rig. I think it would just be fun to get them all on at once, and then maybe have a day when all the LMAX are on at once, and then a Johnson day and a night kit day. I mean, you know. Oh man, yeah, that would be fun. Anyway, Steve, thanks for calling it. Everybody have a great day. 7-3. God bless, and Lord willing, we'll catch you about what is today? Thursday, about Sunday. So everybody take care and enjoy the beautiful weather. So, buddy, here it comes. WB4ARK, WA4LLR.
WA4LLR, WB4ARK. Okay, Dave. Well, I think we should have an ART-13 day, of course. It's in keeping with the American way. So, and Charlie, you didn't say that you were or were not on an ART-13 today. That would be 5. So maybe you could clarify that. But you did get your antenna fixed, and the signal here into Lake Wiley is back to normal. So I think that's all there is today. And Doug, I hope everything goes well with your dad. I know how that can be. I hope you're still listening. So that's it from Lake Wiley this morning, and we'll send it on to Reed, W2CQH, WB4ARK.
WB4ARK, W2CQH on 3713.2. Let me get it back up on to 14.3. I guess that's close enough. I think this ART-13 drifts more than the others. They may have removed the temperature compensating capacitors that were once in the rig, but it certainly likes to drift. Maybe I should turn it on a half an hour before the net. Let the thing warm up. And with those words, let me sign clear and get on with the day. WB4NKL, W2CQH, QRT. Hey, good morning.
Yeah, W2CQH, it's WB4NKL. Okay, Reed. I'll have to look you up down at the Lawrenceville Ham Fest. Planning on going down to that. I have drifted down to about 350 cycles low, but this I think most of the ARTs do drift down, and this one does, but it's not. Usually I don't have to touch it during a conversation unless it goes beyond that much. And Charlie, I was going to comment, I don't notice a whole lot of difference in the signal here, so I think the way it was before, you had a lobe coming this way, because I mean, I'm copying you fine, but it's not noticeably better than when you were running the split antenna. But that's pretty amazing. You was about nulled out to the south there to you, so that's kind of odd, but I had a good copy on you either way. So I don't think you're on an ART. I don't hear the dynamotor, and I don't think you've finished building the power supply yet. So I'll say 73s and enjoyed it. Thanks for calling it, Steve. And I'm not sure. I know Alan got out and JAL got out. I guess it goes back to Charlie. W4MEC, WB4NKL.
I'm still here.
I thought Steve said you got out. Go ahead.
All right. Yeah, he did, but that's okay. W4DCS here. Steve, I'm still confused on how SDR console detects RF and mutes. I'll have to get you to explain that one more time. But no, I'm not on the ART this morning. I'm on 32V3. Set it up. It's been in storage for a while and decided to pull it out. Set up a Studio B, so to speak. And it's got quite the talkback modulator in it. This is kind of interesting. Takes a little getting used to. But anyways, Steve, thanks for calling it. Yeah, I'm a little confused on how that muting works. That's interesting. And Charlie, here you go. W4MEC, W4DCS, 73 guys.
Okay, Jimmy jumped out, right?
Yeah.
Okay, W4DCS in the group, W4MEC. Real good. No, I'm using the Apache. Hopefully I'll get my power cable repaired here today and be back with it next week probably. Maybe Sunday, I don't know, run the net with it. Yes, limestone and my QTH and the azimuth that my inverted V is almost a dead straight line. So it must have a narrow lobe fed in that particular manner, and it ain't all aimed at you. So it was a little leaking off to the side towards Doug, and you know, Doak heard me pretty good too. So it must have a main lobe in that direction. So that would be something to experiment with. Maybe the next time if you're on and Glenn's on, I'll swap the darn feed line there to one connection and see if it's a steerable array. So anyway, all right. Let's see. Thanks for running that, Steve. 7-3 for now. We'll catch up with you next Sunday. N4LQ in the group, W4MEC.
Yeah, okay. Count me in on that experiment because you were weak here, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. Meanwhile, I think I'll play with the software and see what the model shows on it. As far as SDR console, Doug, it's, of course, you've got a receiver, an SDR receiver, like the SDR Play, and SDR console is the software that runs it, and so it's just simply sitting there and receiving, and when you transmit, you're putting a big signal, probably stronger than anybody else is, into the receiver, and the S meter slams over, as it should, and SDR console says, hey, wait a minute, that's a real strong signal. I'm muting, and you set your mute level to whatever you want. Think of it as the opposite of a squelch, a reverse squelch. So there you go. Does that answer your question, Doug? Over?
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes total sense. I guess the version, this deal I'm running doesn't do that. I'm running a AirSpy HF Plus, and I'll have to look into that and see if there's some software I can run that with. Not all the SDR software programs recognize it, and that's a great solution because what I had to go through to get it to work was a challenge, to say the least. Thanks, Steve. M4LQ W4DCS.
Okay, I'm not sure if console works with AirSpies or not. I've had a couple of AirSpies and they all had images. That drove me crazy. But the SDR plays in that ilk seem to work fine. Okay, well, everybody is checked out. This is the end of the Old Friends Net. Appreciate everybody checking in. Hope you have a nice weekend coming up. Don't forget 160 to net tonight. 1864 kilocycles at 8 p.m. Hope to see everybody there that can make it. This is N4LQ closing the Old Friends Net.